The Darlington 500. We are live, and we have completed 332 of 367 laps in one of the most grueling races that I think automobile racing ever has had, and that is the Darlington 500. Later on, of course, we'll be switching live to Santa Anita and the 46th running of the Santa Anita Derby, the premier West Coast showcase for thoroughbred racing's Triple Crown hopefuls, a mile and an eighth for 3-year-olds, and of course you have already, I'm sure, decided who your favorite would be, Desert Line or 5th Division, Total Departure. Jim McKay will have all that story for you a little bit later on, live from Santa Anita in California. But right now, we are in the midst of some very fine racing here in Darlington. Darrell Waltrip, the leader, and Jeff Bodine, who has never won a Grand National NASCAR race, is in second place. Waltrip, who's the defending Grand National champion on the NASCAR circuit, has had a drought this year. In 4 races, he hasn't come up with anything in the first, second, or third. But it hasn't been easy for Darrell. As a matter of fact, Darrell started well back in the, actually started in second place, but dropped well back in the pack and then came back in a comeback because the start of the race was a rather disastrous one. Tim Richmond was the pole sitter today, and he had the lead going into the first and second turn. Then as he went down the backstretch, the engine blew. Just as he went into turn 3, oil was going everywhere, particularly all over the rear tires. He could not control the car, although he tried valiantly to do so. It got sideways. Terry Labonte in car number 44 came up behind him and T-boned him right about here. Then there were 4 or 5 other cars involved as the car was hit right here on the very first lap. That put Richmond out and put Labonte out, and from that point on, even though nobody was hurt, it had been a rather frightful experience for both of them. But from that point on, it was anybody's race. And right now, it's Darrell Waltrip in the lead. Jeff Bodine in second, Harry Gant in third, Mark Martin in fourth, Ricky Rudd in fifth, 1 lap down. We'll be back for more live action in a moment.
GMC Truck presents Super Selling Days. Get a GMC S15 pickup equipped with any one of 3 special option packages and save. Or get a specially equipped GMC van or full-size pickup and get automatic transmission or air conditioning at no extra cost. Look for the red tag specials now while supplies last and save during Super Selling Days at your participating GMC truck dealer.
Racing engines run hot. STP oil treatment fights the effects of heat in racing cars. Your car runs hot, too. In everyday driving, heat weakens your oil's vital protective properties. That's motor oil breakdown. STP fights motor oil breakdown. STP strengthens your oil, putting extra lubricants and anti-wear agents to work just where they're needed. Whenever you change or add oil, get STP oil treatment and fight motor oil breakdown.
Thank you, Everett. ABC Sports Control in New York. It's all over up in Boston in the USFL. Oakland defeats Boston 26-7. Oakland 3-3 in the season. Boston 4-2. Don't forget the Santa Anita Derby coming up, and immediately following the Darlington 500. We're going back there live right now to Bill Fleming, the good old boys racing at Darlington. Bill? Darrell Waltrip is the leader, but perhaps you'd like to be brought up to date on some of the other drivers who are your favorites. Richard Petty is out of the race. He blew an engine about 20 laps ago. Kyle Petty, his son, is also out of the race. I mentioned Richmond and Labonte. Ruttman is out of the race, as you know. Benny Parsons is out, and Baker is out. But hanging right in there is Neil Bonnet, who is in 9th place in car number 75. The leader of the Grand National Circuit for 1983. And there is a view from inside of his car in that remote-mounted camera. And again, I can't get over how noisy it must be to the drivers taking that pounding for 4 hours.
Not only noisy, but of course it's an enormous amount of physical strain, and particularly, Bill, on this racetrack, Darlington, mental strain. You can hardly see out of the car at this point. This is our camera that shows Neil at work in the cockpit there. But the camera that looks out the front of the car shows you that at this point in the race where they're... at this point in the race where so many engines have blown, there's been a lot of oil around around on the track. There's Bodine, currently running in second. He's just come back out of the pit, which leaves Waltrip even further ahead. As I was saying, at this late point in the race, a lot of oil is streaking on the windshield. We could see it from that shot.
Well, that stop by Jeff Bodine in the pits enabled Harry Gant to move up into second place. Mark Martin, a name you haven't heard too much of before, is in third place. Bodine is in fourth. Darrell Waltrip finished 23rd in the race a year ago, so he has some thoughts about this year's race, and he recorded them with Chris Economaki earlier.
We're off to a poor season, but here at Darlington, you got a great qualifying lap in. Is that because of the mystique of Darlington?
I've always qualified well here at Darlington. I've always raced well here at Darlington. I started on the front row a number of times, and I've won my first super speedway race here. I think it does have something to do with the adrenaline really flows the minute you ride into this old racetrack. It's tradition. It's what the sport's all about. There's something about coming to a place where all the great drivers that have ever raced a stock car have raced at one time or another.
I think that's pretty well put. I should mention that Darrell thought perhaps this would be his year, as you noticed in that graphic that we showed you. This is the Rebel 500. That's what it's always been called, but because it has a commercial name this year, we are calling it the Darlington 500, but it's the old Rebel race that he won on odd-numbered years. So he figured 77, 79, 81, 83's got to be my year, and who knows, maybe numerology will take over. As I mentioned a year ago, he finished 23rd. But he did break the qualifying record, as did Tim Richmond and two other drivers, the old mark of Benny Parsons. So they broke it by a mile and a half, mile an hour. Here's Harry Gant coming in, car number 33, the second place car. That'll move Bodine back up into second place behind Waltrip. But keep in mind, Waltrip, I believe, is going to have to still make that stop.
He will, Bill. I was just going to say that for all the leaders, and that was a very fast stop. Fuel only on that stop, so that was a major strategic move by the team headed by the chief mechanic Travis Carter, the crew chief. So they just dumped fuel, and they may be ready to run the rest of the race. I believe, yes, they are. So what we're seeing now, the last moves of what is really an afternoon-long chess game, has often been described that way. And, of course, you have to try to decide to have the best setup on your car as you come to the end of the race.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, here comes Darrell Waltrip into the pits. This will be the final pit stop of the afternoon on lap 347. We have only 20 laps to go, so it's just a gulp of fuel. That's really all he's going to take on. As you saw earlier, Harry Gant came in and was in such a short time, he did not give up second place to Jeff Bodine.
Boy, a quick gulp is right. They're filling it from those NASCAR specified tanks, of course, gravity feed into the car. You would not get service like that in your local gas station, I reckon, Bill. And you see how quickly he gets right back out and merges with the traffic. He did not even lose the lead with that move.
Now, as a matter of fact, he still has about a 300-yard lead now on Harry Gant. So that very quick stop with only 20 laps to go enables Waltrip to hang on to the lead. As I mentioned earlier, this race used to be called the Rebel 500. And believe it or not, when they began it years ago, they were in convertibles. Remember those days?
You know people like us, we're teachers, firemen, people just like you. These are the uniforms we wear at work. But these are the uniforms we wear when we serve part-time in the reserves and the National Guard. You see, in the reserves and the Guard, you not only serve your country, you're part of a first-rate team, training alongside real buddies. Yet while you serve, you can live at home and keep your full-time job. Because in the reserves and the Guard, you don't have to give up one life to live another.
The reserves and the National Guard. Talk to your local recruiter.
Wallace, you gotta keep him out of there!
I'm used to him yelling, but not at me.
Button up! Button up!
Your bed.
That's why there's nothing else like it.
Baby, you're the best. And I'm going to keep you that way.
Keep your car running like new at Sears Spring Car Care Sale. Save 50% on Sears Dynaglass 32 belted tires, warranted for 32,000 miles. Save $15 on Sears 45 battery, only $39.99 with trade-in. Save $7 on Steady Rider shocks, only $14.99 plus labor. Warranted as long as you own the car. At Sears Tire and Auto Centers, we install confidence day and night. Sears.
With his hands on the steering wheel of car number 11 is Darrell Waltrip of Franklin, Tennessee, 36 years old. And if he can keep it together for another 16 laps, he will win the Darlington 500. Let's go down to Chris Economaki for a report.
A couple of the stock car racing big-name favorites are having a tough day. Bobby Allison, who led earlier, fell 11 laps behind when a power steering hook broke. Back on the track, he's made up 3 of those laps and is in one of the fastest cars. But it's hopeless at this point. And Cale Yarborough, who lives just down the street and who has won the Labor Day race here 5 times, has never been able to win in April, and the April jinx is staying with him. He's 2 laps down, but hanging in there. Back to you, Bill.
Jeff Bodine had a problem just as you were talking there. He spun around. It looks like he clipped the wall and is down on the apron. The yellow flag is out. It comes out at lap 352. So we have 15 laps to go. I don't think this will be a very long yellow unless there's something down there I don't see.
The track looks good, Bill. I think he may have gotten away with not throwing a lot of oil all over the track.
I think we all should mention David Pearson, who has won more races here than anybody else, 10, believe it or not. He is also out of the race. He was black flagged. And here comes Jeff Bodine in. Boy, I'll tell you, that's a tough break for the 1982 Rookie of the Year, because Jeff Bodine really had the afternoon under his control, leading for over 200 laps. Here's Darrell Waltrip on the left side of your screen, and Harry Gant is right behind him in car number 33. So everybody now is coming in, and Mark Martin in car number 2 should be our unofficial leader of the race.
Well, you certainly see frenzied activity there, Bill, between the leader, Darrell Waltrip on the right, Harry Gant there on the left. Both those teams play side by side. They know what the other team is doing, not only how fast they're doing it, but what they're doing. There, Darrell Waltrip's crew, obviously, they both decided to change not only the outside, but the inside tires, so they will be ready in the best possible form that a car can be for the sprint to the finish. Waltrip, of course, leading first after a 28-second pit stop, but Gant is right behind him.
Well, that's an interesting, it sets up an interesting finish here. We have only 13 laps to go. Now, Neil Bonnet, as we mentioned, is in car number 75. Under the yellow, we'd like to talk to him.
Neil, this is Sam Posey. Can you hear me? Neil, this is Sam Posey. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sam, I just now picked you up. I've got a good bit of static in here. I just now got you.
All right. Now, we understand you've just got a lap before it's going to go green, but how are things going for you now?
They're starting to restart. We're getting ready to restart the race, Sam. I've been on 7 cylinders. I've got a bad fist in the engine. It's one of them kind of days you hate to see at the races. You can't seem to do anything right. It's was in that wreck early. There's something messed up on the rear end of the car. And since that time, I've had the engine lose a cylinder from about 7,000 RPM on up. It misses. These guys are in contention to lead the race. I'm going to get over here out of the way. Jump in here behind them.
Okay, well, listen, Neil, thank you very much for your comments. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Sam. I wish it was running a little bit better. I'm sitting up there in the middle of it, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay, good luck.
All right, we're going to watch the restart of the race from inside Neil Bonnet's car. So we'll get an idea of when these drivers put their foot into it. As soon as they see the pace car move down, the safety car move down, they start to pick up speed. Neil will pick it up with them. And here we go. Darrell Waltrip in the lead. Harry Gant is in second. Mark Martin's in third. Ricky Rudd's in fourth. Bill Elliott's in fifth.
Well, you see, Bill, he didn't have very good acceleration there. That's that engine miss that he was referring to. Dale Earnhardt had been right in front of him and pulled cleanly away. But Neal has been excellent all day long in the turns, and you see him starting to make up a little ground in the turn.
He just passed Ronnie Thomas there in car number 41. So we have 10 laps to go. Darrell Waltrip in the lead. Harry Gant right behind him. Those are the only two cars on the same lap because Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd are both one lap down. So it's going to be a two-car race to the finish, barring anything unforeseen.
Well, Bill, you know, this is the first NASCAR telecast we've done for years without the behind-the-scenes help of Bruce Jacoby. Bruce was a driver who was retired, but he got a chance to drive at Daytona back in February, and he was seriously injured then. He's been in a coma for several weeks, and only recently has he shown any signs of even a possible recovery. It was one race too many, I think, for Bruce, which is a real shame, and we at ABC miss him very, very much.
Bruce, of course, was invaluable to our crew, and again, we'd like to remind our viewers that there is a Bruce Jacoby Fund going on by USAC, and we just want to remind you that in your racing publications you can find out all about that. Darrell Waltrip in the lead, Harry Gant in second place. Let's get a word with Darrell Waltrip about his run during these last couple of years when he's been the Grand National Champion.
You won here in 79, you won here in 81, and the sequence follows. Why, we'll be talking with you after the race. You believe in that kind of stuff?
I sure do. I believe in miracles, too, after North Carolina State won.
Speaking of that, you know, Richard Petty, who had some tough luck here a little bit earlier and spun out when he lost an engine, said that the greatest thing that ever happened to him was when Lorenzo Charles stuffed that ball in for North Carolina State in the victory over Houston. He said the reason it was great was because did you see the number on Lorenzo Charles' jersey? It was 43.
You know, none of us who have driven, Bill, I think, like to admit that we might have some superstitions. I mean, if you allowed yourself to develop that kind of thinking, you'd be in for a lot of trouble. But I think deep down, everyone does. I mean, whether you admit it even to yourself or not.
Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, 36 years old, the 1981 and 82 champion on the Grand National Circuit, has had 0 pole positions this year and the best finish, a third at Rockingham. But it looks like he's going to pull it in.
Well, so far, but Harry Gant, Bill, is not that far behind. And Harry, of course, broke his long drought. You see the relationship there with Waltrip on the left and Gant on the right. I wouldn't say this is over by any stretch of the imagination, especially because the narrowness of the track that I mentioned earlier means that any incident that involves a slower car can suddenly jeopardize the situation that the leaders face.
Well, Harry Gant has had a lot of experience. He's 43 years old. That's 7 years older than Darrell, and he won his first Grand National race in 1973. And it looks like he may be closing up just a little bit.
Now, the key, as we're thinking ahead to what might happen at the finish, should it be close, remember the emphasis here is on being the leader as you go into the last few laps. Waltrip told me this morning that that's what he wanted, where he wanted to be, was out front. And that's because with the track being as narrow as it is, it's very hard to overtake. So Gant right now, first, of course, he has to close the gap, but then, critically, he will have to try to figure out some way to get past Waltrip. You notice that wind, too. The flag's blowing. That can't make the job of driving any easier because it is a crosswind, blowing across the track.
Well, where it's dangerous is that it's blowing him into that dangerous turn number 4. All right, 3 laps to go now. Waltrip has a .99 second lead. In other words, not 1 full second on Harry Gant.
And you can guess what Darrell is thinking and doing right now. He's looking ahead of him. I talked to Buddy Baker about the strategy in the last minute. He said, it's not what you think you want to do. Now, Gant is a lot closer, Bill. That it's not what you would like to do on those last laps. You check off a list and look at Gant. can't catch him suddenly. Bill, now Waltrip...
He's got him. Waltrip must have some kind of a problem because Harry Gant just flew him right off down the main straightaway, and everybody is standing up and screaming. Can you believe that? I'll tell you, even though Darrell is the Grand National Champion and has won twice, he is not overly popular with the fans, but Harry Gant is an extremely popular driver because he's kind of the underdog. And the word is here in the booth is that Darrell may have some ignition problems.
Well, what a thrill for Harry. There's the white flag, only one to go. Suddenly, to have that dramatic development occur for him.
Harry Gant has had a 5th place finish at Richmond and Rockingham this year. Those are the best finishes he's had. But wouldn't this be a very welcome victory for him? 133 Grand National NASCAR races and 2 victories in all of those years. And Harry Gant is on the verge of winning one of the toughest of them all, the Darlington 500. And here he comes. The checkered flag is out for him. Look at this crowd. They're going bananas. And he wins it by 1.04 seconds over Darrell Waltrip.
And he only led those last 2 laps. So that's called placing yourself in the right place at the right moment.
It'll be interesting to see now if anything really was wrong with Darrell's car, whether Harry Gant pulled some horsepower out of some place and was able to blow right on by him, because he did right down the main chute. So that is the 3rd victory for Harry Gant in 134 races. And, of course, the first victory this year. And it is a very popular victory, I might add, as far as the crowd is concerned. Harry Gant, so far this year, has had 4 starts, no wins. He comes into victory lane, and, of course, we're going to be talking to him. And after our commercial message, we're going to be going to Santa Anita for a quick word about the live race, the Santa Anita Derby coming up. Right now, we pause for this commercial message and a word from our local station. 3-year-old Harry Gant of Taylorsville, North Carolina, is the winner of the 1983 Darlington 500. Let's join Chris Economaki and meet him.
Well, congratulations, Harry. Was it a surprise?
Thanks, Chris. Well, it was at the last lap. I thought, we run real good all day, and we just stayed in contention. We run the top 3 or 4 all day. We both pitted there at the end and just put in gas. I thought I believe I could beat him in, because it seemed like I was gaining on him. But then the caution come out there with about 10 laps to go. We put 4 new tires, and his car was quicker on the tires than mine was, but it felt like after mine wore a little bit that mine would have picked back up. But I doubt it would have been enough laps to have overtaken him. And, we just happened to be second at the right place at the right time today. And Travis done a terrific job. The crew done a good job getting us out and setting the chassis up. And so you got to be there to win, and we was there today.
Do you think something happened to Darrell's car there 2 laps ago?
Yeah, it puffed a little smoke out the exhaust going down the backstretch about 2 laps to go, and I don't know if it was maybe run out of gas or what it was, but it seemed to shoot some smoke out.
Miss Gant, what do you think of your husband today?
I'm just speechless. I'm glad he won.
How about your daughter over here, Harry? How are you going to celebrate?
I'm thrilled. This is first time.
Okay, the happy Harry Gant family. Back to you, Bill Fleming.
All right, thank you. And Harry Gant broke the ice on the NASCAR circuit last year, winning at Martinsville and Charlotte. And now, of course, this is the biggest win of his entire career, because they say it's the toughest track of all to drive. Harry Gant, the winner. We're going to try to get a word with Darrell Waltrip if we can find him down there, and Chris can make contact with him and find out what happened. Mark Martin finished 3rd, as you saw there, and then Ricky Rudd was 4th, Bill Elliott 5th. Then Cale Yarborough, Neil Bonnet, Bobby Allison, Jeff Bodine, and D.K. Ulrich. So we'll be returning here to Darlington, South Carolina after our commercial message and a brief trip.
Let them know how they feel about his drive today. Oh, Darrell was a tough break. What happened to the car?
Oh, it was just running so well, and all of a sudden it started skipping, and then all of a sudden it just broke up all together. We either lost an amplifier or something in the ignition, and the car just basically quit running.
One of your pit crew men put his hands over his face and sat down and actually cried.
Well, I know how Houston felt the other night now. They played they probably we're devastated that North Carolina State beat them, and we were devastated that we got beat today. But there's always next Sunday.
Well, also, Darrell, the season is getting better for you, and I think that's important.
Yeah, it is, and the Pepsi Challenger will be in Victory Circle. We know that.
Okay, Darrell Waltrip, always confident. Back to you, Bill.
So the winner was Harry Gant, and the average speed, 130.406. Not a record, but certainly a very fast time for this one. This is Bill Fleming, Sam Posey, and Chris Economy.